broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 207 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Chick Challen. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. And this week we have a great panel. We have Josh Cast of Four Guys Guns. Hey, Josh.
Pleasure to be here, Jake. Thanks for having me.
And we have Matt DeVito of Downrange Firearms Training. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. And so we can review real quick. What'd you guys do this week in firearms? Josh?
This week in firearms, we finally got in inventory the Velocity Mag extensions into Four Guys Guns. So store.fourguysguns.com, and you can pick up something we helped create, which is the Velocity Mag extension. I actually don't have one on me. However, you can check it out. Lots of good pictures, lots of stuff on the places where you can follow us at Four Guys Guns on Instagram, on Facebook, on most social media, all one word, all four at Four Guys Guns. And just been a busy little bee playing catch up after the holiday weekend.
Absolutely. Very cool. Drop that link in the show notes, will you? And we'll share that with everyone. So, Matt, I guess, Matt, real quick, tell everyone a little bit about what you do for a living and what you've been up to.
All right. I am a professional firearms instructor. I'm based out of New England, primarily New Hampshire. Teach in Massachusetts, everything from NRA classes, CCW type classes, to more advanced defensive handgun, defensive rifle stuff. Civilians, military, law enforcement. There's we have open enrollment classes. Like I said, I travel around the country and train too. So, and I haven't done much interesting this week. I guess the most interesting thing kind of happened end of last week, and I picked up one of those Zenith firearms, the little MP5 type clones, and messed around with that a little bit. I'm gonna end up SBR in that because HKs are expensive. But I always wanted an MP5, so I got to play with that a little bit this week.
Yeah, very cool. So what kind of price point do those come in at?
I got it on sale, and it was Atlantic Firearms had a sale a week and a half ago, and it was $1,400 shipped. Very
cool. All right, so you can support Gun Guy Radio and This Week in Guns, Firearms Radio Network, everything you can support through shopping our Amazon affiliate link. Go to firearmsradio.tv/Amazon, and you can bookmark that link and use it every time you go to buy anything on Amazon and support Pro Gun Radio like Gun Guy Radio while you're doing it. And Patriot Patch Company helps make this and every episode possible. Check out the new Freedom Switch T-shirts, now in T-shirt form. That was formerly a long-sleeve shirt, which we still have some long sleeves over at patriotpatch.co, but short-sleeve version in stock. And we also have a pre-order up for the Huckleberry Switch shirts. So check it out, patriotpatch.co.
Do you shop on Amazon? How about your spouse? Does your mom? Does your company? Why not use the Firearms Radio Network's Amazon affiliate link next time you shop Amazon? Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon or click through the Amazon link in the right-hand corner of firearmsradio.tv. Get it? Got it? Amazon it.
Main topic this week, we're continuing our series geared more towards the newer gun guy, gun gal that wants to get, first of all, we covered getting into firearms ownership and safe gun handling and storage and all of that stuff. And now we're talking about, a person might be saying to themselves, I bought a handgun. Now I think I want to take the leap and maybe carry it for personal protection. Maybe take my personal protection outside the home. Maybe you've been gun owner for years and it's always been a home defensive tool. and you're just now thinking, maybe, everything going on, or maybe you're like me in Illinois where you now have your rights back to be able to conceal carry. Maybe you're taking a serious look in this arena. So we're going to go through some considerations here. Right off the bat here, you might come to realize maybe my first handgun choice wasn't a wise choice for carry. Do you see that often, Matt?
I do. A lot of people, and I worked in a gun shop for a long time, still do, and a lot of people buy something kind of based upon what they hear from friends that are quote-unquote experts, and that's always my favorite. Or, somebody sees a review online, or somebody posts something on social media, and people buy that gun because it's what's hot. It's what's trending. It's the latest thing out there. And, their friend said, hey, the Navy SEALs carry this, so therefore you should have it. Or, the local police department carries it, so therefore you should have it. So I see that a lot. And a lot of people end up showing up with a gun that they wanted, but not a gun that they needed.
And what's like a specific example of that? Someone got a gun they wanted, but it's not going to work for their carry gun.
Oh yeah, probably one of the most common ones is people show up in a class with a Beretta 92. Why did you get the Beretta 92? It's what the Army uses. Yeah, it is, and people don't understand. Usually the military gets the lowest bidder. So they think that, the military uses it, so it must be great. Or they get a Glock 22 and 40 caliber. And, for a new shooter, 40 cals obviously get a little bit of recoil to it. And a lot of people show up with a full-size gun because, they're buying a gun that's essentially a duty weapon. And they think that, the military or law enforcement carry this, so this will be a good gun for me to carry, not realizing that the gun in most states has to be concealed inside the waistband. They're big, they're heavy, and they're awkward. So
another thing, Jake, that you see all the time is, and I know because I've made the mistake myself, is you go into a gun shop and you have all this internet but not enough direction, and you end up getting a gun that's, what do you want to do with it? Well, I want to target shoot. I want to defend my house. I want to carry it in, my swimsuit. I want to have a do-it-all gun. And it unfortunately doesn't work like that because they don't make all these different models and sizes because it's a one-size-fits-all dilemma. My first gun was a SIG 226 because I was spoiled, and it's what the SEALs had, and it was in 40 for that extra stopping power. Air quotes for all of you listening at home.
No 10 millimeter for you, Whitey?
I still have yet to have a 10 millimeter. I fired one once, and I was just like, it's cool.
So things to consider: size, caliber. We already kind of covered that. I don't know. Do you think we should throw out any kind of like broad, guns that work for a variety of people for their first carry gun? Any?
I do and I don't, simply because, there's proven stuff out there like the Glock 19, by far, hands down, the most popular concealed carry. But if it's, maybe double stack is too much for you, maybe it's something that you need to be concealed a little bit, deeper, I would say. Like, for instance, I worked a job where we weren't allowed to, by multiple corporate policies on the premises, we weren't allowed to carry. I still carried. But for that situation, like Shield was a good option, whereas a Glock 19, a Glock 17, which is a full-size pistol, not so much, because it's more than just being concealed. It's being concealed and having less chance of a bump in or somebody kind of brush past you and they catch a hard metal or hard thing, and you can only say it's like your diabetes thing for so long before people are like, wait a minute, I've never seen you take an insulin shot. It's like holsters, to be perfectly honest, in my opinion. There is no one size that fits all. It's purpose-built. It's going to be based on, I got a question the other day as to how do I conceal while mountain biking? And I was like,
right.
I haven't seen a bike in forever.
And I don't want us to become the show or network that people walk into the gun store saying, I heard about this on the Firearms Radio Network. This is the gun for me.
And that happens.
Right.
So on YouTube said so.
Right. I don't know. Maybe we could try this. Matt, what are some models of guns that you see work for what pretty wide variety of people in real life scenarios when you're training them for their CCW permit or whatnot?
Mostly Glock pistols and M&P pistols, whether it be full size, compact, or the Shield. And to kind of touch upon what Whitey said, one of the biggest things I hear as an instructor, working in a gun shop, people say, well, what do you carry? And I carry Glock 19. Just because I carry Glock 19 doesn't mean that that's the end-all, be-all firearm. And I tell people the three things to consider are fit, how the gun fits in your hand. If you've got some 4'0" female looking to buy her first gun and the Glock 19 looks like a Smith & Wesson 500 in her hand, obviously it's not going to fit her hand very well. And even though she may be able to shoot it, it's not going to be great when we talk about having to engage the slide lock or being able to drop a magazine or something like that easily without manipulating her hand. So fit, feel. Does the gun feel good in your hand? When you shoot it, are you able to shoot it comfortably without any type of pain or slide bite? And then just overall comfort. And that's when we talk about the different sizes of the gun. Maybe a subcompact versus a mid-size versus a full size. When we talk about a polymer versus a alloy frame gun, just how the gun is it comfortable for you? And like I said, the majority guns that come through my classes that last, and what I mean by that students can go the full day in a one-day class. We're talking about 600 rounds minimum, and there's very little failure, gun-related failure. There's always operator error, but the Glocks and the M&Ps stand out above the rest.
Right. I think people can make pretty safe bets when they look at the main like Ford and Chevy models that are proven models on the marketplace for years. I think people get into danger when they start, like you mentioned before, they get into the cool factor guns or the niche guns and niche brands, and for whatever reason they go with a Taurus Judge or something, and whatever gun they go with, it may not be the best choice for their carry choice. So, going back to a previous episode as well, we talked about, if you're looking to buy your first gun, maybe you haven't done that yet, going to a range or maybe even teaming up with an instructor like Matt here to go try a variety of guns before you buy, to take these size and caliber, things into consideration.
That's one of the great things about firearms courses, even if it's your basic 101 course or even sometimes NRA, is that usually if you have a decent class size, like anywhere from even 6 students and up, you're going to have variety. Not everyone's going to be there having a Glock 19, having a Smith & Wesson 9C or a 1911 or some craziness. And usually after you get over the first couple hours, everyone realizes, oh crap, we're all new and none of us is the next Navy SEAL Ranger Delta Team 6 CAG operator. Once you get all the alpha macho crap out of the way, people start forming a camaraderie, so to speak, and you can really start, hey, what are you shooting? How do you like it? Tell me about it. And 9 times out of 10, be like, hey, if you want to shoot it, here you go. I mean, everyone brought ammo, so we're all there to learn. And I think it's a great chance, especially if it's a range that, or a class where the instructor, like, I don't know if Matt does that, but I know whenever I go to a class, I usually bring 2 or 3 pistols just in case something does have some sort of catastrophic malfunction, and I just I'd rather continue learning than play gunsmith in the middle of a hot range.
Yeah, touching upon what Whitey said, I always tell my students, you're here to learn and you're here to see what works and what doesn't work. So if that guy over there has the latest whiz bang, barrel, slide, stippling, whatever, but his gun keeps jamming, it's probably not a good mod. And I always bring 2 or 3 spare guns for students to try. I tell folks all the time, when we go to the range, and especially as new gun owners, we're going to a place that we're not really comfortable with because there's all these members, they've been members there forever, yada, yada. And we may be intimidated and don't want to ask kind of the old crotchety guy at the end of the firing line to try his pistol. But when you come to a firearms training class, everybody's there for the same reason. They're all there to get better. So I've never once in the 6 years I've been doing this professionally had somebody say, no, you can't shoot my gun. No, don't touch my gun. There's like what he said, there's a camaraderie that forms, and everybody's there, to kind of help out and make each other better. And it's a great way for people to kind of get to feel stuff and mess with stuff without obviously making a big financial purchase for something that they may not end up liking. So
moving on to kind of the next step here, let's say you got the gun nailed down. What about a holster? I mean, if you're going to carry it, you're going to need something to carry it in.
Stop buying Blackhawk, and furthermore, leave Uncle Mike's alone. Just stop it. Next thing you know, you'll be using a tube sock in your pocket.
He's my favorite uncle. Come on.
And you know what? He was a great uncle, but it's one of those things where I can go to Joann Fabrics or whatever, and I can grab some Cordura, and we can just basically cut it into a heart shape and then stitch one end up and call it a holster. That is not good. When you are buying a holster for especially concealed carry, it needs to, be concealable. First and foremost, you're concealing. You don't want to advertise, hey, look over here, I'm the guy with the gun. 2, it needs to secure the weapon. It needs to make sure that thing is not jiggling itself out, falling out. I'm done with pocket holsters. Like, I don't want to talk about that. People stuff them in their back pocket and stuff like it's cool. You also want to make sure that it's comfortable with how you're carrying and where you're carrying. I mean, and I'm sure Matt's going to attest to this. You can have concealability, access, and comfort. Of those 3 things, you get to pick 2. Sacrifices are going to be made because you are now carrying a hunk of metal and or polymer on you for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day in a manner that you don't carry anything else. It has weight to it. It has to, because you should also be talking about belts after that, and that goes in with clothing. I think we're touching on in the near future. Matt, recommendations?
Yeah, no, I mean 100% on what you said. And if you're going to take concealed carry seriously, do not buy a universal holster. You should buy a holster that fits your gun, whether your gun's got a light on it, a pick rail, or whatever it may be. Don't buy a universal holster. Quick little aside, when I first got my concealed carry license, I first started carrying. I carried a gun in a universal holster. That gun ended up falling out of the holster in a possibly the worst place ever for a gun to fall out of somewhere. I was in a bank. True story. Still horrified to go into that bank to this day. And it's legal in my state to carry a gun in a bank. I just remember standing there going to pull my wallet out and just hearing clink, 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 and look down, and my pistol was on the ground. Horrifying. That's what you get when you buy a $20 universal holster.
I'm so sorry I'm laughing, but that is hilarious. I'm not robbing the place, I swear.
It was bad. I still have nightmares about it. Thanks though for that. No, I mean, to tell you the truth, we say it a lot, and especially in the firearms industry, it rings true every single time. You get what you pay for, and buy once, cry once. I've got a bin, and I take it to classes, and it's probably got $1,000 worth of holsters in it, of holsters that I say, do not buy these. They're garbage. They don't work. I've made the mistake, and I'm showing you so you don't make the mistake. Don't be afraid to spend $100 on a holster. It's an investment. At the end of the day, when people say, oh, it's too expensive, it's too this, it's too that, you're putting a price tag on what your life, your safety, and potentially your family's life is worth. So don't skimp when it comes to a good concealed carry holster.
And I mean, even if you buy a used gun, a used, good, decent gun, you're spending $300, $400 higher dollars on a gun that you're going to protect your life with. Why, for the love of God, would you put a $24.99 on sale holster as the keepsake?
Well, I think that's where a lot of people run into trouble. They want it now. They're like, oh, I'll just run into this Cabela's, name that big box store. I need a holster for my gun. I get my concealed carry class is coming up here. I have to get something. So they go in there and they're, tell the salesman what they want. And so, obviously, a lot of stores carry universal holsters so that they can sell more holsters because, it's hard to stock a holster custom molded for every make and model of pistol. I think that's where a lot of people run into problems. They want it now, and they
And that's valid. And there's also, the budgetary concerns. Well, I only saved $400 and the pistol's $375. Well, that's cool. Then you're not ready because you're buying this pistol and you're buying a $24.99 on sale holster. Well, you're at your $400. What are you shooting out of this gun? Do you even know how to shoot this gun? You can't afford training. You can't afford it. I understand there's a need and I understand that there's a want. And at some point you have to say, okay, maybe I want the Ferrari, but I can't afford the tires that go on it. And you need to start making different choices.
Well, and nowadays there's so many holster makers out there, a lot of quality holster makers out there that sell a quality Kydex for about $29. So they are out there. I mean,
Instagram #Kydex and you'll be fine. I mean, you'll find 5,000 different guys. Some may even be local to you, and they always have sales. Some of them are even bigger than they lead on to believe. So I mean, like I was actually not surprised, but I would say pleasantly surprised. I went to SIG Academy to find Black Point Tactical, not to name drop or promote a specific company, but Black Point Tactical I was introduced to 2 years ago, and they were like a no-name, only like the guys that were overseas like knew of this guy, and now like he's got full inventory at SIG Academy, and to me that's cool. That's people actually growing their business instead of just operating a microwave or a toaster oven out of their garage or basement and making money on the side.
So let's dive into clothing. Now that we're carrying a handgun, and as Matt said, most states require it to be concealed, we may have to change some of our clothing options, choices, etc.
So like a vest?
A fishing vest? Everyone get their IDPA vests out.
It's body type, its preference, and its style. For me in particular, I'm a fairly larger individual, and my weight tends to fluctuate like Oprah in the 90s. So I mean, I could be 265, I could be 295 in any given fiscal quarter, depending on how things went. And things to consider are: does it print? Printing means that somebody can readily identify that there is something there that their brain can fill in the blanks that shouldn't be there, and they know what it is. It's like, that looks like he's carrying a gun. So if that means you have to switch to a looser clothing, if that means you are now a shirt untucker, if that means you can no longer wear, like the pencil skirt with the super tight top because you don't want to show people that you're carrying it at the 4 o'clock.
But those are my favorite.
The pencil skirt is my favorite as well by far. I mean, I have these 3-inch pumps that just go great with it. But
the red one.
In reality, this is where the culmination of everything else comes to play. So there's different holsters for different types, different needs, different pistols that will work for the way you like to dress. And there's always going to be, you don't have to be, big bulky jacket or hoodie in the middle of the summer if you don't want to. There's always, just like if you lose weight or gain weight, there's always something in your fashion realm that's going to make sure. I think the most important point would be the belt, or however you're actually carrying this thing day to day. If you're a Cobra, Sylvester Stallone, shoulder holster kind of guy, maybe it's a different story for you and you're living the sport jacket life. But
that's
belts,
a good point. We should have put belts right up there with holsters.
I mean, I went through probably 7 belts, including like tactical belts that before I found like the one. And then once I found it, I bought like 3 in different colors and said, forget it, I'm done. This is what I'm going to have until something better comes out.
Well, and when we're talking about belts, mainly this kind of broad stroke, but we're talking about thickness, rigidity.
Yeah.
Thicker in general, this is really broad, but in general, a thicker belt is going to suit you much better for carrying. And there's also a lot of good budget choices for high quality leather concealed carry belts on the market now. But you can go everywhere from that up to like a boxer tactical belt.
Right, boxer tactical. My personal favorite is Aegis from Ares Gear. Even again, budgetary concerns. Magpul is making belts now, and they're good. They're rigid. They're fashionable. The reason why, again, not to plug companies, because people are going to look at the price of this belt and be like, what are you, out of your mind? I'll take my belt off right now for all the viewers. So this is an Aegis from Ares Gear, and the reason why I like it is because it's well, this one has my logo on it, but It's plain, it's simple, it's clean, it's easy to go on and off. I don't have to trim it down like some of the tactical belts, or get one that's within 3 inches of my belt size. And you can see I'm not like really bending it. It maintains its own rigidity. It's very stiff. So when you have that 3, 4, 6 pounds, whether it be just the pistol holster magazines, whatever you may carry, you don't want this kind of, trust me, especially if you have the tactical muffin top, it will flex outbound because the weight of that gun is going to want to go in a certain direction. You're going to be sitting, standing. Leather is great. You will go through leather belts. Count on it. And then they're going to show wear. They're going to get stretched out, and you're buying more. Something with that scuba webbing or that hard nylon, definitely the way to go. And just finding a buckle that doesn't, I mean, you can wear that with anything. I've worn that with khakis. I've worn it with dress slacks. Not that color. I have different colors.
Really good points. I wouldn't shy people too much away from a high quality leather belt, because I've got one that's I don't know, coming up on 4 years old, and I wore it solid for 3 years, and but it was a high quality belt to begin with. So
I mean, I've seen Matt wear like buckle belts. I've seen him wear tactical belts. I mean, what do you recommend, Matt? Like, what do you go day to day with?
My day to day is a Jones tactical belt, and
another good company.
Yeah, again, like Whitey said, it's got the scuba webbing in it, and again, same as the holsters. When people say, "Oh, the holster digs into me, the gun digs into me," it's uncomfortable. It flops around. 90% of that can be taken care of with a good belt. And again, I think if we ask the question, everybody here, and probably 95% of your listeners or viewers will say, yeah, you know what? I own one of the Black Hawk tactical rigger belts, because I think that's what everybody starts off with. And people see the rigidity of like the Jones tactical or the Aries gear or like a Mean Gene leather, and they go, wow, it's kind of like wearing a hula hoop. It's got to be uncomfortable. But in all honesty, it takes the pressure off of your back. The holster and the gun, depending upon what type of holster it is, what type of loops it are, moves freely with your body. And I mean, I'm notorious for it. I'll fall asleep with my gun on me in the belt, pass out from a nap or something like that. And I could sleep a full night in my everyday carry gear. And, but again, it comes with a price tag. And, it's quality. I've probably been wearing the same belt for 2 or 3 years. Same style belt, in classes, in the rain, in the heat, in the mud, all that stuff. And it's withstood all of that. So when you think about it, it's $150 initially, but you wear it every day and it's lasted 2-3 years. It's minuscule in comparison. So.
Yeah, it's funny you say sleeping all night, and I just took the kids camping, and I slept all night in my EDC. So yeah, it can work. So I think that's pretty good for holsters, belts, clothing. Clothing's something I ran into just today. I was browsing for some cover garments. What I generally wear is a long T-shirt tucked into my pants, and then a button-up shirt to drape around everything. And so I want a button-up shirt with a fairly long tail and everything, because otherwise I feel like I'm always having to yank it down. But I was looking at 511 shirts, and I'm like, these aren't going to work for me. These are too tight. They were really tight fitting. They were like almost like just a fashionable.
Were they European cut?
Yeah. They were like, they were for the European men, I guess. I mean, they weren't going to work for me. They're way too tight fitting and short. They weren't long tails at all. So you can't just go by, things that are branded towards this market either. You got to see what works for you.
And I see in the notes we have something I'm about to touch on, but it's a different. Stay with me, Jake. It'll make sense in a second. So when you decide that now's the time to conceal carry, we're going to talk about mindset in a second when it comes to working with an instructor. But there's also the hurdle of I am now carrying a gun. I know I'm carrying a gun. and I'm afraid the whole world can see that I'm carrying a gun. And it's a hard hurdle to get over. I mean, I struggled myself, even to go from the stages of carrying concealed to carrying concealed with a round in the chamber. And these are all just mental hurdles. If you have a good full-length mirror or a trusted family member, something like that, it's very common for you to say, can you see my gun? Put your arms up, flex, bend over, sit down. Feel free to make sure that you're comfortable with moving forward down that path, because nowadays more than ever, people are looking for, is he hiking his belt up more? Is he keep pulling at a section of his shirt? Is something, like that kind of behavior is starting to draw more attention, including the tactical clothing. If you're wearing khakis, boots, and a plaid shirt, you are now possibly, maybe you're one of those, wild right-wingers that's going to go ahead and start the revolution. And that's not the case. It's just a matter of you trying to figure out where your place is in making it all work. So you're not alone. Ask for help when need be, because it's better than someone at the grocery store yelling he's got a gun and all you're doing is trying to get the milk.
Good points. Yeah. You could even take a video of yourself, with your phone or whatnot, because you're right. You're absolutely correct. When you first start carrying, most people will be like, I swear to God, everyone's looking at me. Is it showing? And stuff like that. But, mostly in reality, if you make wise clothing options, you're perfectly fine, and no one's ever going to, have a clue. So moving on to finding a quality instructor. I know in my state of Illinois, when the new law changed, all these companies popped up overnight. All these experts, suddenly had a CCL company. So how do you find a quality instructor?
Who's going to go first?
You're going to go first, Instructor Matt.
I think word of mouth is the biggest thing. A lot of people, especially in today with social media, can go out, make a few videos, get a YouTube channel, get an Instagram account, do some editing, add some dubstep, and they make themselves quote unquote legitimate. Me personally, any instructor I've taken classes with, I've vetted, and that's through after action reports, which is one of the biggest things. If you Google an instructor's name and the first thing that comes up is not like a positive after action report, you probably shouldn't take their class.
James Yeager. Let's see here.
Who? I've never heard of her. You can't. You can't go based upon numbers, and what I mean by numbers is like popularity. Like you said, James Yeager. If somebody goes, "Oh, Yeager's got," excuse me, and again, nothing against Yeager. Yeager's got so many YouTube followers and stuff like that. The information he must be putting out is awesome, and he's got all those people because the information he's putting out is controversial, and controversy sells. So I think the biggest thing is to try and get honest reviews from people that have obviously taken a class before. Anybody can go and generate some stuff to put in their website and filler for their background and their resume and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, if you can't, if somebody says to me, "Hey, I'm thinking about taking your class, can you give me references?" I've got thousands of students that I can say, "Here, email this person, call this person." I can provide you after actions reports that are on legitimate, firearms related websites. If somebody can't do that, then that is your first indication that maybe you shouldn't be training with them. And then after that, I would say look for what you need. I tell students all the time, the classes that I teach aren't tactical fantasy camp. If you're looking to wear a plate carrier, carry your AR-15 and akimbo 2 pistols, don't come and take my class. The class is not for you. My classes are based more towards the everyday average citizen, the police officer that may get into a defensive situation with a firearm, stuff like that. If you want the fantasy camp type classes, cool. That stuff's up there, and I'll direct people that way. But I tell people the goal in one of my classes is to make you more efficient with a gun and to make you more dangerous to the bad guy. And again, there's plenty of fun fantasy camp type classes out there. If you get the money to go and do that, cool, go and do that. If you're looking to get better with a gun or how to better CCW, then that's where you should be spending your training time and your training dollars. You can always make the money back, but you can't get the time back that you spent on a range, and that's the most valuable part. So,
and it's a lot of time in Illinois, 2 days.
What is it in Illinois? Just curious.
It's 16 hours.
16 hours.
See, and do you guys have to shoot live fire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, my company's based out of Massachusetts as a Massachusetts resident for 29 years. That's all they require in Mass, which is one of the most toughest gun states as far as firearms legislation. A 4-hour basic safety course with no live fire.
Wow. Whitey, anything to add?
No, I mean, after action reports, the internet, I mean, all those things. So, especially in your case, Jake, where it's, who knows? Because the people that have been doing it their whole lives that couldn't do it, maybe they're doing it privately, things like that. Maybe they were waiting for that legislation, then boom, they just send the flag up the moment they were legally allowed to do so. And, they got lost in the fray of all the people who are like, oh, we can do this, make a quick buck. I have my NRA pistol cert where I can teach people to shoot from a chair and things like that. So, I mean, it's in your situation, and it's specifically more difficult, but asking around, checking on their social media, believe it or not, just like an employer would do, whether it be Facebook pages, groups, LinkedIn even, and trying to get some sort of work history, just validate who you're spending money with, especially when it comes to official instructors or, super secret squirrel guys. And there's ways of doing that just by asking around.
So how do I prepare for my first class? And we can talk about mindset here. What kind of mindset should I have coming into class? Whatever
you think is a lot of ammo, double that, and that's what you should be buying to go to a class. So it's funny you see on the news, they had an arsenal, he had 5 firearms and, 500 rounds of this ammo and 70 rounds of that ammo, and he was a danger. Listen, Matt just told you, a 1-day, 2-day course, you can go through anywhere from 500 to 1,000 rounds on average for just about any pistol course. Some people are going to be a lot higher, some people are going to be lower, and it's all about that person's, curriculum or style of teaching and how much you're actually going to have on trigger time. But learn to buy in bulk. It doesn't go bad. It's like keeping marbles that happen to blow up. I mean, you just stick them in the basement and you're good to go for forever, so to speak. People are still using Russian surplus ammo from the Cold War and beyond right now. Yeah, there's one right there, Matt. So buy more ammo and bring water.
Hydrate.
Yeah, and a light lunch. There's nothing worse than coming after that lunch break and you're like, oh man, I'm so glad I got that 16-inch Italian with the hots on it, and I had my iced coffee and 3 other glasses of whatever and some potato chips, and you'd be amazed how heavy you feel very quickly and how your shock groups and your learning curve, like fruit, yogurt, whatever, just something light and move on. Power bar.
All right, Matt, how do you suggest people prepare?
It depends on, again, a 1-day class, a 2-day class, a 3-day class. Like Whitey said, the first thing you have to realize is if the curriculum, I give all my students before they sign up a curriculum, if it says between 500 and 600 rounds, expect to shoot 700 to 800. That's one of the things, as an instructor that I've learned, I always bring a few thousand rounds for students, extra in case they need, because, the worst thing is you're going there, you've never taken a class before, you're having a ton of fun, you're pulling the trigger, and, class ends at 6, and at 3 o'clock, you've got 50 rounds left. So definitely bank on extra ammo. I always tell students, if you can, always bring double of everything, extra magazines, extra holster, extra gun. And if you can't, if you don't have access to that, ask the instructor if they do. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know any instructors personally that don't bring extra guns, ammo, magazines, holsters to a class because, it's Murphy's Law. Something's bound to go wrong. The other thing is be prepared to shoot a lot. It's funny. The average person goes to the range and shoots 50 or 100 rounds. and, the course of an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case may be. And they look at my curriculum, they go, holy crap, in 8 hours, we're going to shoot 700 rounds. Yeah, you're going to get a blister on your trigger finger, probably. So be prepared to be physically exhausted at the end if you've never done any of that stuff before, and also mentally exhausted. If you don't leave class with questions, and what I mean by that, your instructor should be able to answer whatever questions you have, but there's always that time in between, like the decompression period, where you're like, yeah, you know what? I didn't get to ask this question. Why do we do this? Or why do we do that? And Whitey will tell you, there are times where you sit in a class and, I shouldn't say you sit in a class, but you go through a class and you do a drill and you're sitting there and you're scratching your head and you're like, wow, like there's more to this than just shooting and pulling the trigger. And especially when we're talking about mindset with regards to defensive firearms or concealed carry stuff, people need to realize a lot more goes into that than just simply pulling the trigger. There's a lot that goes on in here, and it's something you really need to prepare for. I tell all my students, bring a notebook. One, because I may say something totally profound that you're going to want to write down, or two, just make notes for yourself so you can go back later on and figure stuff out, on your own. Maybe a drill that you really liked or something you did wrong, just stuff that you can do to correct yourself and to get the most, play on words, bang for your buck out of the course.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's move on to storage. We've talked about storage a lot, but I just threw this in here because, Matt, can you mute yourself? We're getting feedback. Yeah, just be quick on the mute. For some reason, your mic ramped up this last part of the show. So you may have to change the way you store your gun because you're going from having your gun always put away to going, taking your gun in and out of the storage device area every day. So you may need a new safe, better access for that kind of use, rather than what you had before, or maybe, better positioning, something like that. And lastly, know your gun laws. We're not going to really get into gun laws. Differ for every state. We have some links in the show notes for you to check out. But just because some people, just because you get a concealed carry in your state doesn't mean you can carry in every state you're going to be traveling to. We on This Week in Guns, we see people all the time get in trouble for maybe having a gun in New York City, and they're from South Carolina vacationing, and they're all of a sudden they're like, "What? I can't have a gun here?"
Yeah, that's dumb. You can actually, what you guys are searching for, if this is a new thing for you and you're going to travel from state to state with your firearm, especially driving, search for your state. Put it in the Google search, your state reciprocity. I'm sure Jake will put it in the show notes, but you can also generally either call. And, of course, don't tell them anything about you. Just ask, do you share reciprocity with yada, yada. Call the state police. You can usually check the state police or the .gov website for that particular state you're going to. And you can also check with your state, but they will only guarantee their state, of course, not the one you're going to. But there's a lot of resources out there that will clearly point you, and you can just bookmark them, save them in your phone. If there's ever any questions by maybe a local law enforcement official doesn't even know that they share reciprocity with another state, just have that .gov right to their state website, ready to rock and roll right there at the side of the road, because I guarantee you that will happen.
To touch on that, there's a big difference between reciprocity and recognition. Don't get the two confused. And what I tell folks, if you're traveling, the state that you're leaving, the state that you're going to, in every state in between, go on one of the web, like handgunlaw.us or whatever it is, concealedcarry.org, print out those states' laws, highlight the parts that apply to you. If for some reason you get pulled over, in Massachusetts, the police officers are all supposed to carry, it's called the Blue Book of Laws for mass gun law. It's this thick, and they don't know them. So it will really help your cause if you can say, hey, officer, no disrespect, but if we flip to this page in this highlighted section, this is what says I'm allowed to do this here in this state. So, when it comes to traveling with a gun, is somebody that I've traveled across the country driving with a gun, and I travel a lot with my firearms. Anything you can do to help you out, do it.
And, the other thing is know your own state laws. A lot of concealed carry classes will go over, the laws and stuff. But, especially in my state of Illinois, there's so many gotcha laws of where you can and can't carry. And, having, a really good handle on that, even after taking your class, go through a refresher, print it out. Talk about it with your friends and buddies. It's something to really ingrain in yourself.
Bring people. Even if I've been to easily half a dozen or more, 01 courses.
Yeah.
Whether it's, just to accompany someone who's never been, so it's not like a new experience entirely on their own. There's nothing wrong with the basics. There's nothing wrong with the fundamentals, and all it does is help hone that blade, so to speak.
So final thoughts on people, looking to carry a gun for the first time. Matt, you're muted. Mute.
I lost my mouse. I don't know what happened. I told you I don't technology well. What was the question again? I'm so confused.
Final thoughts, Jerry Springer style?
Oh, yeah. I tell people when you're buying your first firearm, you should budget between $1,000 and $1,500 for a good, reliable setup. I'm talking about the gun. I'm talking about a locking storage device. I'm talking about range ammo, self-defense ammo, iron ear protection, and belt and holster. And, we're talking about if you're buying like $500 to $600 pistol. When we decide to buy a firearm, a lot of people just go and they buy it kind of willy-nilly. And I tell folks there's a lot of parallels between the firearms industry and the automotive industry. Before you go and buy a new car, you're probably going to test drive it. You're probably going to sit in the driver's seat. You're going to check it out. You should do the same with a firearm. You're making an investment. That's the way you have to look at it. Whatever the cost may be, that could potentially save your life or a loved one's life. So, working in a gun shop for years, I had people that were like, I'm going to buy that $300 pistol because I can't afford anything else right now. And I would say, man, you get $300 in your pocket? And they'd be like, yeah. I go, you know what? Come back next week when you get $400 in your pocket and step up to a better gun, because what you're doing by putting that minuscule price tag on that gun is saying that's all your life is worth. And, we know, especially in today's day and age, we live in a pretty, the word I want to use, violent, disruptive society these days. And, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And you really can't put a price tag on what your life is worth or your loved one's life is worth. So don't be afraid to spend a couple extra bucks to get something that it's, I think we can all attest to it. Guns don't go bad. You're going to have it for a while. And if for some reason you don't like it and it's not for you, sell it to a friend you don't like.
All right. Whitey, final thoughts?
I would say, welcome to being, one more responsible member of society, but that means be responsible. Be aware of the condition of your weapon. Be aware of its placement. Be proficient in your employment of it. Be educated in the laws and the use of it. And don't make us all look bad by doing something stupid. So get trained up, get good gear. And that doesn't mean, Gucci gear. There's a lot of no-name brands out there that are really good. Maybe I just haven't found or heard of them yet, but they're out there. And be responsible. Be the example, because we're all judged based on your actions. Not to give you some weight to bear or anything.
Good stuff. Next week we talk vehicle carry and storage, do's and don'ts.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you. and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. hunterofdesign.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7-inning stretch time. We invite you to join in singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Patches, get your patches here. Patriot Patch Company has all your favorite flavors. Tactical, Western, sci-fi, pop culture, hot and ready. Don't forget to wash it down with a Pro Gun custom screen printed t-shirt. Available in sizes medium to 5XL. They're great for any occasion. Patches, get your patches at patriotpatch.co.
We also have revamped Patreon perks, patreon.com/gun.
I was going to mute it for it.
Where you can support Pro Gun Radio like this show, $1 stickers, or support us $1 an episode, send stickers, $5 levels for FRN shirt or Gun Guy Radio patch, $8 levels for after show or a supply drop box, or $10 and $12 levels for Patch of the Month Club or T-Shirt of the Month Club, and then $15 level for the Ammo Dump Box. So patreon.com/week, support this show, crowdfund Gun Guy Radio to keep more Pro Gun Radio coming at you every week. Patreon.com/gun. Patriot Patch helps make this episode possible. Check out the Double Tapper t-shirt over at patriotpatch.co. And Ryan Cross, Hunter of Design, if you're looking for any graphics, artwork design, new website, company logo, anything like that, hunterofdesign.com.
Hunter of Design.
So that about wraps us up. Josh, share with us where people can connect with you online and Four Guys Guns.
Yeah, you can follow Four Guys Guns and all of our day-to-day shenanigans, generally on most social media platforms. We like to mix it up throughout the day, so if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, it is at Four Guys Guns, all one word, all spelled out. If you want to just see random shenanigans that has no bearing at all on Four Guys Guns, it's just me and my stupidity. You can follow me on Snapchat. That's capital FGG, space capital W for Whitey. So FGG Whitey on Snapchat, and all you guys out there, keep it to yourself. So, yeah, come check me out.
And Matt, where can people connect with you online and maybe even sign up for a class?
It's safe to come off mute.
Yes.
Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. It's all DRF training, stands for Downrange Firearms Training. I'd say go to my website, but it's currently being rebuilt, but it is drftraining.com. But yeah, I'm on all the same things that Whitey mentioned, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Periscope, all those places. If anybody's looking for anything after the show, wants questions, suggestions, whatever, my email is Matt, M-A-T-T, at drftraining.com, and would love to talk to you and help you out.
Very cool. You can mute again.
Okay.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes and, leave us a review there if you listen that way. Check out some of the other podcatcher apps. People have been having some issues with iTunes or the podcast Apple app. Downcast works great. And also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but we have at firearmsradio.tv/resources, we have little flyers that you can print out, put up at your local gun store, gun range to spread the word about free pro gun radio. So post these up at your local hangout and tells people about the network and how to listen. That's at firearmsradio.tv/resources. And please consider joining the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on FRN. And also shop with our Amazon affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. Well, thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Jake. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulty.
Oh, we'll get you a quality headset sent your way. Thank you so much. That's a wrap. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I kind of forgot in all this excitement. But being this is the Guns of Hollywood podcast on the most popular pro-gun podcast network in the world and will blow your eardrums clean out, you've got to ask yourself a question. Have you subscribed yet? Well, have you, punk? GunsOfHollywood.com or search Guns of Hollywood on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher app. Punk.